friends, thanks for joining me for part 2 of my Italy-Greece trip. I'm going to do a similar format as I did last time with me sharing video and photos, but then taking that information and being inspired by it and putting it in my journal. So this is going to be a sharing of my trip, but also process video of, just putting those memories down on paper so I can look back on it and smile and remember what a truly wonderful trip it was. It was absolutely amazing. Carl and I had been trying to go to Italy. When we got married, we said we're going to try to go to Italy. No, we said we're going to Italy on our 10th anniversary. Well, by the time our 10th anniversary rolled around, we had Andrew. And then we had, I think maybe even Brandon was on the way. So financially, it was not going to happen that we were going to be going on this trip. Then we tried to plan the trip, and we did plan it, and I had everything. It was written in stone. I had paid and everything, and then the pandemic hit, so it had to be canceled. So my daughter was like, "Mom, you've got to go on this trip." And so she's still living at home, and we thought, we need to take advantage of that so that Andrew would have care while we were gone. And it worked out beautifully. And big thanks to Amanda for being here for us and helping out with that. And so the trip was amazing. So I'm ready to share it with you today. So I thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy this process video and looking back on my memories of our very, very special trip.
Today I will be working on days 4 and 5 of the trip, and on those days we went to Mykonos and did an excursion to Delos, and then the next day we went to Athens. Just in case you missed this information before, I wanted to let you know that I did make this junk journal that I am working in. The cover was made from a cereal box that I covered with scrapbook paper, and also used some fabric, as you might have seen when I first opened it up in the beginning of the video. I used a lot of vintage envelopes, also some vintage music paper and wallpaper, a lot of vintage ephemera. There is some newer scrapbook paper also in the journal, but a good amount of this journal is made from vintage items. I'm starting off by writing a little note that says we spent a full day at sea, which was a great opportunity to get caught up on rest. Before I get more into this, I wanted to mention something to you guys. You may or may not notice that there's a light change almost consistently as you watch the video. I wanted to let you know what that is so that you didn't think it was your computer or your eyes. I have a curtain hanging outside of my window, so it's hanging on the outside, and it's to block sun because the window gets so much sun and it gets very, very hot. So I have actually a curtain on the outside and the inside of my house. Well, the wind blows the one on the outside, and so sometimes it looks a little bit brighter and then sometimes it looks a little darker. So don't be alarmed. It's not you, it's me. I have a little piece of paper here that I typed up on my computer and printed it out on a cream-colored stationery. I'm stuffing it in this little bag. This was a bag that I got at a restaurant, and it had silverware in it. So I'm going to use that to hold some things. And one of the things it's going to hold is this note, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, May 9th, 2024. We arrived on the ship, got settled in, and took a nap. We woke up and went to the buffet and got something to eat. We explored the ship and went up on the very top deck, which was a great bird's eye view to watch the people on the pool deck getting drinks at the bar and dancing. Fantastic entertainment. May 10th. 2024 was a full day at sea. We explored the ship some more, the restaurants, entertainment, etc. One of our favorite things to do on the ship was people watch while the band was playing on the deck and folks were drunk and dancing. Some of the shows we went to on our trip were the Epic Beatles, Howl at the Moon Dueling Pianos, levity comedy, and live music here and there on the ship. We ate a lot and had dessert a couple times each day. The little picture that I added to the outside of the bag right there, that is a picture of Mykonos at night. and I snapped that as we were pulling out of the port. I have this piece of scrapbook paper, which actually was a scrap, but it was the perfect size to fit inside the little bag. So I'm adding to that a picture of the island of Delos, and you can see the beautiful blue water. It's absolutely stunning. And so that's what I'm adding inside the flap. And then I'm going to write May 11th, 2024, Island of Delos. Then on the outside, I'm putting a picture of some of the things that we saw on the island, and you can see that these are ancient ruins. I had mentioned in my first video that I did a lot of typing on the computer and printing it out, because if I were to write everything in my handwriting, it would take up so much space. And as you can see, this is not a gigantic journal slash scrapbook. So I wanted to make sure that I could fit all of my thoughts and ideas onto the pages. So I want to read to you what I wrote about May 11th, 2024. We docked at Mykonos, Greece. This was one of my favorite ports of call. We did an excursion to Delos. The weather was sunny, windy, and chilly, which I loved. We took a ferry to the island of Delos to see the ancient ruins. Very cool. You could see that there was once a thriving civilization there, with markets, houses, and the port. There were cats on the island, and they were all very friendly. The island is uninhabited. Delos was once a holy sanctuary for a millennium. Then it was named the birthplace of Apollo, the god of light, and Artemis. Leto, their mother, wandered all around Greece trying to find a safe place to bear her children, and she settled on Delos to give birth to her twins. The delivery of Artemis was painless, but the birth of Apollo lasted for 9 whole days and nights, because Hera had kidnapped Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, preventing Leto from having an easy and painless labor. Hera was jealous of Leto because she had an affair with Zeus and became pregnant. I also wanted to mention to you guys that Cleopatra and her husband lived on Delos during the 2nd century BCE, which I actually did not know until I came home and started researching some of the things that I took pictures of. For 150 years after the breakup of Alexander the Great's empire, Delos was independent. Under Rome after 166 BCE, Delos became a free port. In 88 BCE, Menophanesis, I don't know if I said that right, a general of Mithridates of Pontus, sacked the island for remaining faithful to Rome. Thousands of people were slaughtered. And then I go on to mention in my notes here that Delos is the brightest spot on the Mediterranean. According to myth in ancient times, the god Apollo, the god of light, was born on Delos Island, therefore rendering it sacred. No mortal was allowed to be born on the island. No mortal was allowed to die on it either. This sacred sanctuary can only be visited as it is, and will be home to no one. And lastly, I write, after our trip to Delos, we went to Mykonos and did a little shopping. On the ferry back to Mykonos, I was really hungry and got my first piece of baklava, and it was delicious. The picture that I'm adding now is a picture of the ancient amphitheater that was there. I've got a Pennsylvania Railroad ticket, it's vintage of course, right here in the journal. And to that, I'm going to add 2 photos. They are both of the town of Mykonos. And you can see that the buildings are white. That's a white stucco that they put on the outside of the buildings. And they're really, really beautiful. I wanted to make sure that I told you guys that you'll notice I'm not matting the photos. And that's because I have a limited amount of space in this journal, and it's a 1 signature. And I know that just adding what I'm adding is going to make it a bit more of a gator mouth. And I don't want it to be a ridiculous gator mouth. So I am adding as few layers as possible. If I want to decorate, I'm trying to use like flat stickers and things like that. Here we have a doily, and I'm going to attach a picture of Carl and I. We're on the ferry. My hair is getting blown all over the place. We're wearing our jackets because it was a very crisp, cool day, which I absolutely loved. It was so nice to leave Florida and go somewhere where it was cooler. I loved it. So that's the picture that I'm adding to the doily. I'm going to use tape, and I'm trying to make sure that the stickiness doesn't go through to the other side. You see the holes in the doily, the decorative holes? Well, I don't want that to go through. So I'm just trying to make sure that I tape this in the right spot so that doesn't happen. On the back side of the doily, I'm just going to add some decorative stickers for now. Now we are moving on to the next day, which was May 12th, and that was a Sunday, and it was Mother's Day. So on my note for that day, I have that to spend Mother's Day in Athens, Greece was amazing. However, I started to get sick that day. Whatever was going around the airports and the ship was spreading like wildfire, and I got it. I didn't let that stop me, though. We went on our excursion, a bike ride in Athens, which I would not recommend. Traffic is crazy, pedestrians don't care that you are moving quickly and can't stop on a dime, and drivers want to just run you over. Really a dangerous activity. On our ride, we saw the changing of the guards, the site of the modern Olympics, which were in the 1880s. Unfortunately, we didn't stop for photographs at many places, and we rode by many of them on our bikes. I snapped as many pictures as I could while on my bike, which, wasn't the safest, but I used to ride bikes in triathlon, so I am used to multitasking on a bike, but still, don't try this at home, kids. Anyway, we stopped at a Greek restaurant and had an authentic Greek lunch and ouzo, which tastes like anise, which is like licorice. The lunch was very good, but the ouzo was very strong. On the ship, we had Chinese food for dinner and went to the Beatles cover band show. The pictures I added to the other side, one of them was Carl and I standing in front of the stadium for the modern day Olympics, built in 1889. And then above that, but yet under my journal writing, was a picture of that same stadium from a different direction, and it was an aerial picture. The first picture I'm adding on this side of the page is a picture of me with my bike helmet on, and next to that I'm going to put a note that just says bike ride in Athens. And then below that I'm going to put a picture of a sculpture, and it's called the Wood Breaker statue. That was done in 1900. I took a picture of it because I wasn't sure what it was and I wasn't sure when it was done. But when I got home, I Googled the description of the statue, and that's how I figured out what it was a statue of, the guys breaking wood, and when it was done. I also added the words Athens, Greece to the little note that I made. Here I'm writing the notes on some pieces that I had from a scrapbook pad, like the cut apart pages. These are perfect. They're long and slender. They fit into small spaces. So you'll notice that I'll use a lot of these throughout this journal. Now I'm going to add the note that sort of labels the picture, the Wood Breaker statue, and it'll say 1900 and Athens, Greece on it. On the right hand side, I'm going to go ahead and add some pictures. The first one that I'm going to put at the top of the page is a picture of the Acropolis, and we were not very close to it, but we did get to see it from afar. And I'm writing a note, and the note says, "The Acropolis in Athens. I wish we could have got closer." And I do, because it's an incredible sight. My daughter went to Greece a few months ago with Nick because his family's from there, and they got to see the Acropolis, and she said it was quite impressive. But that's okay. Next time, if I ever make it back to Athens, I won't be taking a bike ride, and I'll be sure to make it to the Acropolis. I'm making another note for the journal, and it says Temple of Zeus and Athena, Athens, Greece, 5/12/24. And in this photo, it's far away, but you can see the temple. And that's another one I wish we could have gotten closer to, but I guess when you're on bikes, there's only so many things that you're going to be able to get to. And actually, I spotted this temple and I took a picture of it, and I didn't realize what I was taking a picture of at the time. And then when I came home, I did some research and I found out what it was, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I took a picture of it. There are so many beautiful churches there, and we went inside of many of them. And this is a picture of inside of one of them. I don't know that I have been able to figure out which church it is, but if you ever go, just go in as many as you can, because they're full of works of art. They're just stunning. I didn't feel like I got enough really good pictures while I was there in Athens, so I went ahead and I picked up some postcards because these are great photographs, and I thought I could go ahead and use them in the journal. This first one that I'm going to work with is a picture of the Parthenon. It's sort of a past and present of the Parthenon. So I'm cutting that to size so that I can fit it onto this graph paper. This next postcard has some fantastic pictures on it. So I'm going to cut this apart, and I can use these pictures in different areas of the journal. I'm going to keep them in this section, but I can split them up and then take up some space on some of the pages that have a little extra space, like this one right here. I think the postcard thing is a great idea if, let's just say, something happened to your camera or your phone and you couldn't take pictures. You can get postcards with wonderful pictures and use them in this way. I believe I picked up 5 postcards in total. I think it was 5. So what I'm going to do on the page with the map is I'm going to create a pocket using 2 of the postcards. That way I'll have the photos, if you will, on the postcards, but I'm also creating a pocket that I can pop something in. And actually, I still have some of the tickets from our excursions, and I'm definitely going to be popping in the ticket from our bike ride in Athens excursion. I've cut apart the small pieces of that one postcard. Now I'm going to go back to some of the previous pages, still in the Athens section of the journal, but I'm going back and I'm going to add a few of these small pieces to just fill in some of the gaps. My friends, the next 2 days that we're going to cover are going to be Santorini and Olympia, and those will be in the next video in this series. I hope you can join me for that. Thanks for watching. See you soon.